Good evening, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Basel Kikano, class of 1998, and as president of Jamhour Alumni US, it is my honor and privilege to welcome you to our 16th annual dinner event. It is always a true pleasure to see many, many familiar faces, and as I can see in the back, many new ones as well. I would like to start off the evening, just like every year, by thanking you. This evening, the success and impact of our charity would not have been possible if it weren't for your relentless support and tremendous generosity year after year. In addition, I would like to especially thank and acknowledge the following individuals. Mr. Anis Barakat, who came from Jamhour in these difficult circumstances to spend the evening with us and to represent the school, and our rector, Per Batour, who could not come. Our Consul General of Lebanon in New York, Mr. Majdi Ramadan. First of all, congratulations to you and Vanessa on your baby girl, Lala. And for those of you who don't know, Majdi is finishing his last year in his current role. He has been a strong advocate for the Lebanese community. He has been a role model for civil servants and a strong supporter of our charity. Majdi, thank you very much. You will be dearly, dearly missed, and we truly wish you all the best. Thank you. Thank you. We wish you the best in all your future endeavors, my friend. Mr. Fuad Sawaya, for being a strong, for being a strong supporter throughout the years, and who every year offers the beautiful brochures that were on your seats. So, Mr. Fuad, thank you. Inter Audi Bank, represented tonight by Mrs. Claude Audi, for their generous support year after year. Claude, thank you so much. Thank you. Sylviane Hill for supporting us since 2003 with her coverage in L'Orient Le Jour. Sylviane, thank you. Thank you. Last but not least, our extraordinary guests of honor, Vice President of New York Institute of Technology, Mrs. Nada Ali. And Hind Hobeika, class of 2006, CEO and founder of Instabit. Thank you, ladies. So lastly, I wanted to talk briefly about tonight and its significance. As you all know, Lebanon is experiencing unprecedented events. Faced with major economic crises, aggravated by the accumulation of debt, rampant corruption, unprecedented levels of poverty, 1 in 4 Lebanese are living under the poverty line, deteriorating social conditions burdened by 1.5 million Palestinian and Syrian refugees, exacerbated by a complete lack of basic social services, from electricity to medical coverage to garbage solutions, and of course, a bleak employment outlook that have driven so many of us abroad. Dear friends, our countrymen and women are in pain. They are out on the streets because they are desperate. They are tired of a corrupt political system that has given them nothing and left them with nothing to lose. But the Lebanese have indeed reacted, and they've reacted in a very beautiful way. They have done so by giving us one of the most beautiful, peaceful, civilized, and clean revolution we've ever witnessed. a revolution that has crossed all traditional Lebanese boundaries of religion, party lines, regions, and broken all taboos. You know, men, women, children, young and old, Christians, Muslims, and Druze, from Sur to Saida to Beirut to Byblos to Tripoli, all finally united, forming one of the longest human chains in history, all for one cause, all for one purpose: a decent living, a better future, a better Lebanon. I will admit, I have never been so proud to be Lebanese. But what I'm truly, it's the truth. But what I'm truly, truly proud of and amazed by, yet not surprised, is by our Lebanese women. From the woman that you saw in the video that fearlessly kicked the armed bodyguard, to the little girls, the students, the mothers, the grandmothers who put their lives at the front lines of many protests to keep everyone in check and to prevent violence, to the Lebanese women leading protests across the world, and specifically here in New York. We salute you, we cherish you, and we applaud you. To our countrymen and women, I have one thing I would like to say. In the words of Khalil Gibran, you are far, far greater than you know. My friends, tonight we have the opportunity to tell all of them. We have heard your cries, we feel your agony, and we will not let you down. Do not worry about sending your kids to school. We will do what all these politicians fail to do. We will invest in your future, so that the upcoming generations of young boys and girls will keep the fire of liberty, innovation, culture, and dignity shining bright for years to come. So I urge you, let's make sure this evening counts. Let's send Anis Barakat back to Jamhour, back to Lebanon, with an unfaltering message of hope, support, and love. Jamhour has asked us to raise $170,000 to sponsor 65 kids. I look around and I know we can do that, and I'm sure we can do a lot more. Our homeland and our countrymen have not let us down. They have never needed us more than they do not right now. The least we can do is return the favor. So let's do it. Ladies and gentlemen, this evening would not have been possible if it weren't for the tireless work of the Jamhour Alumni US Committee, our Vice President, Cynthia Hajjal, class of 2011. Our very energetic and MC, our treasurer, François Basile, class of 2013. Mr. Karim Awad, class of 1987, our tech expert and former president. Our wisest, Bud Zhel. Our recent joiners, Antoine Nasser, class of 2013, Joey Diab, class of 2014. Nadine Kfouri, Jimmy Kairouz, Karine Aswad, promo 2001, Dr. Christian Rezet, class of 1974. Our one and only and lovely event planner, Nada Sara. Last but not least, our beloved chairman of the board, Dr. Gabriel Sara, class of 1972. I won't stay here for too long, but I do have, on an administrative note, I would like to announce to everyone the rebirth, just like many things these days, of our Jamhour Alumni US West Coast effort, led by Antoine Nasser, Joey Diab, and Sami Hajal. Please reach out to them. Yeah, okay, we can give them a round of applause. Please reach out to any of them if you'd like to get involved. We do have a wonderful evening meticulously planned for you. I truly hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
I would like to introduce our wonderful and amazing Vice President, Cynthia Hajal.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm delighted to see so many of you with us tonight. The past few weeks have been historic for Lebanon. Our country has been witnessing unprecedented events that have directly affected all of its people. A stagnating economy coupled with high unemployment numbers have left many of our fellow Lebanese unable to provide for themselves and their families. Additionally, an atmosphere of political uncertainty has left them wondering about tomorrow and the future of their children. Many Lebanese parents are struggling to make ends meet. Can you imagine how they must be feeling today? Wondering if they will be able to offer their children the education they deserve to fulfill their aspirations. Our brothers and sisters back in our homeland need us, now more than ever. Over the past 16 years, the lives of more than 1,000 students have been positively impacted, thanks to you, our generous donors. Thanks to you, these students were able to pursue a quality education at the Collège Notre-Dame de Jamhour and its affiliated schools. Thanks to you, distinguished professionals have risen to prominence in their respective fields, whether it be as doctors, lawyers, engineers, artists, journalists, bankers, or entrepreneurs. Thanks to you, these individuals that you empowered will help build a better future for our beloved Lebanon. Tonight, we carry on with our mission of standing hand in hand with the people of our country who are doing everything they can to offer the best to their children. This year, we hope to sponsor the education of 65 students by raising $170,000 for their tuition. As Gibran Khalil Gibran once said, generosity is giving more than you can, and pride is taking less than you need. We hope you can contribute as much as you are able, because our countrymen and women are counting on your benevolence. The Lebanese diaspora has long stood in support of the people of Lebanon, particularly during tumultuous times. Let us not fail them now. Thank you. And you can find François, Joey, and Antoine in the back if you would like to make donations via PayPal. They're here.
I'm Nada Sarah. I'm a member of JAUS board, and I'm very happy tonight to share the stage with two brilliant Lebanese engineers who belong to the gender, الجنس اللطيف, as we say in Lebanon. Yes, it is a first for our platform to host a woman. And as to make up for the lost time, we are honoring two of them tonight. Dr. Nada Anit and Miss Hind Hobeika. this hosting is coinciding with historic times for women. 4 weeks ago, 2 American female astronauts made history by coming out of their spaceship and walking alone, meaning without a male, to repair, or rather to change and replace a battery. Parallelly, in Lebanon, women have been making headlines because, or thanks to their active involvement in the protest movement, sometimes braving the security forces just for the protests to stay in peace. Of course, there are countless examples of women going forward, including our honored guest tonight. So let me not waste time and invite Dr. Anid to come to the stage. You want to sit here? Let's sit here. Yes. So Dr. Anid is known very simply to our community as Nada Anid. So Nada, you have been a New Yorker since actually 1988. You were born and lived in Lebanon, where you broke barriers, right? Because you studied engineering in a man's world, and you were the first female to get a master's in chemical engineering. You went on earning a PhD from Stockholm in environmental engineering, and before actually you land a career in academia, an influential career in academia, where you groomed scores of students in New York City. You are currently Vice President of NYIT, Vice President for Strategic Communication and External Affairs, NYIT being New York Institute of Technology. So Nada, please tell us, what is today the core of your mission, your education mission?
Maître Sarah. First of all, I would like to salute you for all the work you have done in promoting the culture in the face of Lebanon and its archaeological riches throughout the US. I would also like to express how touched I am, how humbled I am, and how honored I am to be with you today. Thank you, Jamhour. Thank you, the committee, the chairman of the board. My salute also goes to all the women in this room, the grandmothers, the granddaughters, the homemakers, the career women, all of you, and to the men who are in your orbit. Salute to you. We heard from Basel, and we saw all these pictures about the revolution that is happening in Lebanon as we speak. Like my friend Ray said, the revolution is female. And for Munir, as-Sawra Unsa. And for Dr. Boulad, Killun yani Killun. Now you asked me what the core of my mission, what the core of my mission today.
Yes.
Well, I'm in education. Education is a public service. I saw many parents today, and I know many of your children. I have mentored some of them. I see Aline, I see Mirna, I see Nicolas, many of you. Joey, I know you since the day you were born, the same day. as my daughter Ingrid was born at the same hospital. This is my life's passion. Education is when you give from your own self to others. Serving, just like our Majdi serves us, serves our community. Now, I'm not a Jamhour alumna, but I have one connection with Jamhour. When it was not co-ed yet, I was part of CAEJ, le Club des Anciens de Jamhour, and we would, as a mediocre athlete, we would practice every Thursday evening at the Stade de Shaila. And I want here to salute my friend Paul Hassoun. And I don't know, Christian Turki was is not with us, but they were the stars, and we were just like following along. But that is my connection. So what we're missing in the US today is critical thinking. We held a conference a few weeks ago with the Wall Street Journal editor and also the Times of London, where they showed a map of the world, and they showed how different countries, how students in different countries, and that would be of interest to you, Shabel, also, are excelling in certain areas. The US, which epitomizes critical thinking, thought, leadership, a country of ideas, is falling behind because our public schools are now cherishing and valuing standard, studying to meet a standard. The public schools will get funding if they score certain numbers. So this is something we have to work on very hard, especially in the field of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We call them STEM. There is a big push by the National Academies of Medicine, of Engineering, of Science to correct this and improve math education, science education, and especially critical thinking. All of you here, employers, value analytical thinking. You value employees who can contribute their own ideas, who take initiative. Rote learning is not for us in the United States. And hopefully we can improve this and also bring it to Lebanon and to Jamhour and translate all these new ideas because I know that it's still very traditional in the way it's done.
The way that is still primitive in that field. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Nana. Now let me backtrack to the year. Yes, let me backtrack to the year 2009 when you went on breaking barriers as you were chosen, actually, the first female dean at NYIT, and you stayed in this position for 9 years. So during that period, during that time period, apart from significantly growing the student enrollment, the student body enrollment, that's okay, I'll take care of it. What are the milestones, thank you, you reached that paved the way for the higher position, I mean the vice presidency?
Well, I started in 1994 at Manhattan College as a professor. I was offered a position at Purdue University, but I preferred to be in New York because for the children, it's a better place to be. So, and I'm telling this to all the young people in the room, to advance, always raise your hand. If there is a committee being formed, be part of it. So that's what I started doing, to the point that I became department chair, not of my own choice. People asked me to be one. And the first question they asked me in that interview, why? I said, why? For the students. I want to do it to make a difference in the students' lives. And little by little, not just was I department chair, they call me the chair, department chair of chemical engineering at Manhattan College, I became the leader of all the department heads of chemical engineering in the United States, wow. Which means that that's leadership. which means that I would walk in a room. There were 50 of them. There are only 50 chemical engineering departments in the U.S. It's a very small niche. The toughest, sorry if you're a mechanical engineer, but that's one of the hardest fields because it combines chemistry, physics, and mathematics all at once. So I would be in a room full of 50 other department heads from all different schools, and the only women, and leading them all. Leading them not from above, but leading them by asking ahead of the meeting, what would you like to discuss? Among these 3 topics, prioritize the one you would like to discuss at the meeting. Is it retention? Is it how to offer scholarships for the needy? Is it professional development? So it was a collaborative way of asking for their ideas and then making them part of the team. So that's how it started. That's what prepared me to then become dean, which then, in 2009, there were only 16. I was number 16. There were only 15 other women in the US and Canada. We had a group called the Women Engineering Leadership Institute, where we counted on a page, on a web page, every time a woman became dean. Wow. So right now, there are maybe 25 of them. But it's a long ways. And to every woman in the room, we need to always have hope. We need to always push forward and onward because we are paving the way. We did it, and now we hand it over to the next generation.
Thank you, Madam. In the fall of 2017, an article was published in Society of Women Engineer magazine that coined you leader of change. So you earned this title because you always encourage women to pursue education and career opportunities in STEM, as we said earlier, STEM standing for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So please tell us what this advocacy entails actually concretely, in a concrete way.
Well, women, we know from research that or girls in school lack self-confidence when they hit puberty. I know from my own daughter, Audrey, who loved science. She would sit in the middle of the class, like the boys were here, the girls, she wanted to be with the science group, ask the questions. But the problem was that even the teachers will call on the boys first. So there is a problem of self-confidence. There is a problem of women like to always give the right answer. We like to be accurate. We like to be right. So we tend to think. And when we start a sentence, we start with, I think. No, we don't need to start a sentence by saying, I think. Just be assertive and say it as it is. Because a boy, no matter if it's wrong or right, will say it before you. and that's how they advance in life.
Yes, absolutely.
So my inspiration was listening to the president of Barnard College on NPR talking about how to overcome this fear, because it's a girls' college, it's a women's college, and how to teach her students to be more assertive and to take risks. That's the most important one. She created an entrepreneurship program. I reached out, I brought the woman who helped her students, and with the help of millions of dollars, which I sought in funding from New York State, from the US Department of Commerce, we created a center for entrepreneurship and innovation. When Governor Cuomo came on board, we were the first private private college to get a grant in technology in the entire state.
Wonderful.
And through that, I'm not biased towards women, but I'm helping all the students, but primarily the female students, because as we're going to see from our start, it takes hard work to bring an idea to market, to go from idea to company. And we will hear more about these obstacles.
Nada, you wrote many opinion articles, and lately in 2016, you co-wrote with 3 female authors a book, The Internet of Women, Accelerating Cultural Change, that I so much enjoyed reading. Could you please tell us why this book and what was your contribution?
I'm an optimist, and I believe in science. I believe in technology. I believe in advancement. To me, technology is an equalizer. It democratizes knowledge. So for women, it's an empowerment tool. That's the idea behind the book, which is called the Internet of Women. It's something that we even trademarked. So that, and we gave stories about, in the book, we tell stories about women in Gaza, women in Afghanistan, where women weren't allowed to go even to school, are using technology to create apps, to create games. They're winning robotics competitions now globally. So the book tells stories about success, about how to do it so that we can inspire others and join us in this vast internet that we're calling the Internet of Women. So, because the other thing, the other aspect of it is you need to have a network. I take it from my daughter Ingrid, who jokingly created one day a board. She had a board, and she picked people to be on her board. That's what every individual needs to do. Create a group of mentors, create a group of sponsors, investors, people who invest in you and in what we do, what you do. I belong to a group of women who sit on boards, corporate boards. Just to give you some statistics, there are only 12% of 500 of women who sit on boards of 500 Fortune companies. Women who hold patents, there are less than 5% of women's names on patents. We have long, long ways to go.
Thank you, Nada. This is really encouraging, but also sad at the same time. But we'll see. We'll take time.
It takes steps. It takes steps.
There. We have to be positive.
The World Economic Forum is giving us 5 more generations, 180 years, to reach gender equity. Okay? This is what it will take. I mean, women were not allowed to vote. Women were not allowed to go to engineering schools, to law schools, to medical schools.
Or simply to school.
Or to school.
Before, yes. Okay, Nada, you are a scientist, a barrier breaker, an educator, a leader of change. You are also an accomplished scholar, a reviewer for the federal government and for many engineering magazines and journals. So you are a recipient also of several awards, including Protecting New York Award in the fields of cybersecurity and the field of safety. And you have also been awarded the St. George Hospital Make a Difference Award. So how do you feel about your high achievement, and what message can you give our audience tonight, and specifically the female one, please?
Reach for the stars. There is nothing that you cannot do. And I take my lessons from the people who are closest to me. My mother taught me not to be afraid. All of us are the product of the baby boomers in the room, of the product of the civil war in Lebanon. We can count ourselves as war survivors. My personal experience is to get the news about my mother's brutal murder 20 minutes before I had to take my PhD exam at the University of Michigan. I went in, I prayed for my mother, did what she taught me, took the exam, and told the committee afterwards what happened. That's the strength that can only come from inside. And that's my advice, to always look inside you and find that inner strength that will move you forward. There is something, there is a drive in us that pushes us. And that's what we have to always believe in. Before I went to my interview to become dean, I asked Audrey, what should I say? Well, of course I was nervous. She said, just be yourself. That's another lesson. Just be yourself. I mean, women now have to look thin, a certain way, or whatever. No, just be yourself. You don't need to be a man to succeed. You don't need to look like whomever to succeed. Just be yourself. I'm calling shoes. I was invited at Columbia to speak to a group of girls. The other day, I was in Congress at a congressional briefing talking about advanced manufacturing and talking about weaponry and things that I cannot share, amazing things that are happening in this country. But I go back to my speech at Columbia, where I gave the example of Ingrid, who was a swimmer in the 4th grade. And I asked her that same day, what do you think about with every stroke? She said, with every stroke, I tell myself, I can do it. So that's the other lesson. Believe in yourself, have no fear, be yourself, and you can do it.
Thank you, Lana, especially for sharing those very intimate impressions. That's very, very moving. Thank you. Now our second honoree is Hind Hobeika. Jamhur Aruna, class of 2006, who has had her share in overcoming obstacles. And I know she had a long and difficult time before being taken seriously and reaching her goals. She really exemplifies the next generation and is carrying the torch. Thank you, Hind. She is a competitive and compassionate swimmer. She went on to study mechanical engineering at AEB, and realizing the need for a device that measures a swimmer's heart rate without creating drags in the water that slows the competitor down, she put her passion for swimming and her technological background together and came up with an idea for a revolutionary product, Instabit, that can be attached to any kind of swimming goggles and accurately and continuously monitor the performance of swimmer. A groundbreaking swimming monitor product for which Hind won many prizes, the first one being the MIT Enterprise Forum Pan-Arab Business Plan in 2012. And in 2016, she was invited by President Obama to be a speaker at the Global Entrepreneurship Summit. I give the floor to Hind. Thank you, Hind, and welcome.
I'm very honored to be here. I was part of JAUS and AUB swim teams, and I am going to tell you Instabit's story, who was actually created through my swimming. So in my last year of engineering, I get an email from the dean saying, you students should submit your final project to this competition that happened.
If you are more comfortable with this.
Well, you know.
It's not as good as it is.
Yeah, I know. So I get an email from our dean saying you should submit your final project to this competition that's sponsored by Qatar Foundation. But actually my final year project was this huge robot that measured ventilation that was not suitable, but at the same time I realized that I've been itching all along for something that helps me track my swimming. So I was not the fastest swimmer, but I was definitely the most committed swimmer. I was showing up to the pool every day because I just wanted to make the most out of my time in the pool. And I realized that there were watches for runners and bikers, but nothing that was suited for swimming, which was very shocking to me. And so, very mindlessly, I submitted my application to this competition, and little did I know that it would change my life. Can we put the presentation? So the competition is called Stars of Science, and this is where I actually built the first prototype of a device that can mount on a goggle and can track the heart rate from the tempo of the swimmer and give real-time feedback as they're swimming at every stroke. So this is the picture of the first prototype, which was very big and bulky, and I look very tired and miserable. However, this experience really changed my life because before Stars of Science, I had done my internship at Procter & Gamble, where we were a department of 3,000 people working on the wipe of Pampers. And suddenly I found myself in a situation where I was alone, locked in a lab on TV, and I had built a product from scratch in 4 months. And so this completely changed the way I thought about things, and I was just hooked to the idea that I needed to push this forward. And so this is exactly what happened. I went back to Beirut from Qatar. I raised some funding from Veritech, and we started iterating on the prototype. And then I got to a point where I kept hearing, you need to prove the market. You can't just keep raising money. You need to prove the market. And so, it was very difficult for me to raise funding. So, and also, I didn't have a final manufacturable product that I could sell. So I decided to put up the project or the product on Indiegogo, which is a crowdfunding campaign. This was at the very early days of crowdfunding, and this was the first campaign in the Middle East ever. And so, with very, very little marketing, we were 2 girls actually, emailing every press reporter, every swimmer, every coach. And actually, we doubled our fundraising goal through this campaign, and we sold Instabit to swimmers in 56 countries. So after this, we had to make the product. Little did I know, I thought this was the hard part, actually. So then we started the manufacturing, and it was a very long, painful journey. We had factories in the US, in China, and in Mexico. And we were such a small team that we were trying to source everything from everywhere. We ended up with a product that we started shipping. And actually, I want to show you the video of the product, even though it's our older generation, but it was shot in the Jamhour pool, which Anis very generously gave it to me for free overnight. This is the video of our first product that we shipped after our crowdfunding campaign. And this is my friend from the swim team. were trying to, we wanted to sell the dream of swimming. Because, you know, at the end of the day, no matter why you swim, swimming is one of the best sports. It's such low impact, it's so meditative. At every stroke, you think you can do it, but also you have the choice of not thinking and completely disconnecting. And through InstaBeat, we wanted swimmers to get faster, but we also wanted more swimmers to have the motivation to go to the pool every day. So we're trying to convey the dream of swimming. Can we go back to the presentation, please? Yep. So we started shipping this generation to our users in 56 countries, and then we had the very hard realization that our manufacturing supply chain was not sustainable, and it did not make a lot of business sense to keep doing what we're doing. So I was faced with two options. Either I had to stop the business and, you know, call it quits right then, right there. It had already been 4 or 5 years and a very intense journey. Or I had the option of listening to what people were telling me, what my customers were telling me. And actually, my customers were telling me that they were swimming longer and faster, and they were never as engaged in their swim. And that's how I took the decision that actually I'm going to start the design from scratch with a new team. And this time I was going to move from Lebanon to San Francisco to have better resources to do it well. And so in 2015, I moved to San Francisco, and I hired a team in San Francisco, and we started designing the product, taking into consideration what our customers from the first generation told us, but also really taking into consideration manufacturing advice so that we don't make the same mistakes twice. I write in this slide redesign through community because our product has to fit on every single swimming goggle and every single head shape, which is a design disaster. We did have the choice of designing a goggle that had the electronics embedded, but every time we would talk to a swimmer, they would tell me, I finally found the goggle that makes my swimming comfortable, I'm never going to change my goggle. So we really wanted to respect that accessory that determined the comfort of a swimmer in the pool and decided to design around it. So in order to get to a final design that works, we had to test in the pool on people. And this is actually a moving GIF, but now it doesn't work. But we had 250 swimmers in San Francisco from all kinds of, from all different places in the world, because San Francisco is a very diverse city, come in and test with us, each swimming for 10 different laps, making sure that the device fits well and does not leak. And so once we got to a stable design, we had a contract with one of the very big manufacturers based in the US and had the original plan of manufacturing everything in the US to simplify our supply chain. So what ended up happening is a change in the organization of that factory made it clear that InstaBeat wasn't in the pipeline of the factory, which meant that I packed my bags and went to China and started going around factories. And I did find a small factory that was willing to manufacture InstaBeat. However, what I realized is that they wouldn't be able to manufacture it on their own, which meant that I had to live for almost a year in China in order to manufacture InstaBeat, which was not the most pleasant, I'm going to say, a little bit difficult. But you know, I was so stubborn to get it done that I just told them I'm not going to leave until I see a product, which is effectively what happened. And so I'm very proud to say that we launched our second generation product in July. This is what it looks like. This is me swimming with InstaBeat. And it comes with a mobile app that not only shows you your heart rate, but also all of your motion in the pool. So we have algorithms that detect which stroke you're swimming, when you finish a lap, what's your lap time, etc. So this is the first time that swimmers have access to this amount of granular data. And InstaBeat is being used by Ironman world champions, Olympic swimmers, as well as Equinox trainers. We've had our first Equinox swim class last week. So we're really trying to change the conversation when it comes to swimming technology and improving swimming performance. So, this is my story. I just want to add that I'm really honored to be speaking today, especially, in a time where I feel the bar for being a Lebanese woman has been raised so much through this revolution, and I've seen a new type of leadership that has come, which is the servant leadership, and this has inspired me tremendously because I try to do that every day in my startup, and I really hope that this, whether it's on the ground or through our work in China or in the US, it paves the way for more women and more startups and greater things to come.
Wow.
Yes? Okay. Okay, now we are opening the floor to your questions. So, please, any question to Hind, to
Mike.
Nada, please go ahead.
Raise your hand so I get you the microphone.
I have a question for Ms. Hobeika. I have a question for Ms. Hobeika.
Yes.
Where, first of all, is it commercial? Can we buy it?
Yes, instabit.com.
Okay. It's okay. And number two, as a swimmer, does it calculate the calories that you spend? Number two, the heartbeat and etc. Can you just tell us about it more than if you are not like a real swimmer in a varsity team or?
Yes. So actually, we have a lot of fitness swimmers that use Instabit, and they use it mostly as a motivational tool for their swim. So you have a light that gives you in real time your effort level, and you can use it to improve your performance and go faster, but you can also use it in order to push yourself during the swim. So you can think about it like a flywheel spinning class, where you have to reach a certain color for your swim. But on top of that, we calculate the lap time, the number of laps, the duration, the rest time versus the active time, and yeah, your pace per 100.
Raise your hand if you need the microphone, please.
In the back.
Okay. Michael Malouli, Promo 2012, Jammu. My question is, we talked about empowerment of women, especially women entrepreneurs. I'd like to congratulate you. Shipping a hardware product is harder than 100% of people think in this room. Round of applause for him. But we've been very fortunate to have the support, obviously, of our community, our school, and family. What can we do as, whether it's an entrepreneur or a successful person in their career, to help support women? Whether it's an entrepreneur pursuit, or engineering, or STEM, or whatever it is, what can a male Lebanese person do on a daily basis, and also in the long term, to help promote this amazing, not only female activism that we're seeing do great for the country, but just female empowerment in general?
Well, you need to provide the spaces for them to build these prototypes. They can start as young as 5 years old. It's called a maker mentality. That's what perhaps we're building in Lebanon, but maybe not yet, because we're so traditional. We have a computer science lab, we have a chemistry lab, we have a physics lab. The maker space is where you combine all the disciplines and you provide the tools for people, for youth, to come up with an idea and then make it into a product. An app can be designed in a matter of 3 months if you have the right team. That's one. You need the physical space, you need the physical tools. So That's the resources, capital resources. Then you need the coaching as to the intellectual property, the business plan. Aline, where is Aline? The deck that you present to investors, the pitching, the communication, the assertiveness, the concisiveness of what you say so that an investor can stay interested and can listen to you and can be engaged so that they fund you. What else?
I would add that community support and mentorship support and treating everyone equally and honestly. I would say that some of my best advisors were men who supported me so strongly and were very honest about where I needed to improve, and they really treated me like an equal, and that was my way of waking up and really owning what I had to do.
And then one other thing we need to teach is failure and how to exit from your company if things don't go right. Does anyone want to add to this from the experts?
Yes, why not? Please go ahead, the experts.
I have a question for the two ladies, for Nada and Hind. Both of you are very powerful women, obviously, succeeding very much in your career, and obviously what you do takes a lot of hours of day in your life and a lot of work. How can you manage to have a personal life and a professional life that is so successful? So I'd like to hear each one's echo.
I wouldn't say I'm always successful at that. However, I would say it was, I've learned from my own mistakes of not taking care of myself to actually take care of myself. So the first few years of Instabit, I've actually almost stopped swimming, which is kind of ironic, slept much less, and was overall much, not very healthy, didn't have much of a personal life, and then at some point it hit me very, very hard. It's what maybe some people call burnout. For me, it was a wake-up call, like I can't keep living like this, and the best for the company is for me to be in my best shape. And so I have my personal priorities, which is sleep is the #1 most important thing. Second comes the working out. Third comes eating well. And then fourth, sorry, my friends are here, but still they come in fourth place because I need my 3 pillars in order to be able to be a good friend, so forgive me. But, yeah. And I wouldn't say it's a 50-50 balance. I think it's whatever balance that makes you feel balanced. So that's a work in progress for everyone. I don't know if you'd like to add to that.
And Nada.
It's not easy, to say the least. I mean, my daughters are here. They know how many nights we have gone without me cooking dinner sometimes. But I think to be a career woman is being also a good role model. Because to me, it gives me satisfaction, immense satisfaction to be out there helping others. And I do my best to also give to my closest ones, Paul. I mean, without my husband, I wouldn't be anything. So.
That's a beautiful acknowledgement, I know.
I'd like to comment on your answer. We're actually very close friends of Nada and Paul. And we have a good group here. We're very close. And I don't think anyone who knows how much we see you, we go out with you guys, we have fun with you, we travel with you sometimes. Nobody would believe that you do what you do in your professional life. So I think you found the right balance. And I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions, or you want to just enjoy dessert?
Okay. Thank you.
So much.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup. C'était super.